All right, what's going on, guys? Here with another podcast, the Dispensary Marketing Podcast. I'm your host, Brandon Kwan, the founder of Cannabud Marketing, the #1 digital marketing agency for cannabis dispensaries. And I'm here with Jerry from Standard Insights. So just wanted to say thank you and welcome to the podcast. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, Brandon, thanks for having me on. Glad to be here.
No worries, no worries. So, let's just hop right into it. Tell us a little bit about yourself, how you got things going, how you got into the space.
Yeah, Brandon. So a little bit about myself. I'm an older guy than maybe your audience or past podcast guests. I've had over 25 plus years in sales and marketing experience. And about 10 years ago, I left the corporate world and started my own business, helping software companies with sales and marketing initiatives. Had some awesome clients along the way. And then, as they say in life, you learn from one of your failures. And one of my clients, it was another AI and machine learning company. And that client failed. It was an utter bust. But what I learned from there is, a couple things is that there was going to be a huge potential in the AI space. And number two, doesn't matter what software that people are using or software that you're trying to sell, people want a good user experience. And with that, I mean something that's, easy to use. So as this company was imploding through serendipitous events, I met my future co-founder. I live here in Atlanta. So my future co-founder was visiting from India here in Atlanta. He used to live in Atlanta. And he used to work as a technical architect for General Electric, right? A Fortune 50 company. So we met through mutual friends, having a few beers, and he pitched me this idea of a prototype he had of an AI platform that could help businesses, doesn't matter what vertical, drive repeat buyers. So this was going back 3.5, 4 years ago. I took that concept, flew from Atlanta to Denver, and went to the outdoor retail show. And a week later, when I returned to Atlanta, had 2 beta clients. And from there, Standard Insights was formed.
So was this essentially phase 1 of Standard Insights? How has that kind of evolved from what you did, I guess 4 years ago to kind of what you're doing now?
So I guess it was phase 1. As you may know, a lot of these startups just happen. The impetus of these startups maybe just happened in a casual conversation, maybe over beers. And initially it was just, we drew up plans on a cocktail napkin, if you will. And it just kind of evolved from there as we grew and morphed. And then one of those verticals that we morphed into is in the cannabis space.
Nice. So tell us a little bit how exactly the software works. Obviously, you want to drive repeat customers. That's where the value add is for your clients. But how exactly does it work? Like, what's the process behind it?
So our goal is our mission, if you will, is we leverage businesses' first-party data, help them weaponize that to help them drive growth. And where do you get your first-party data? That could come from a handful of places, but typically from your e-commerce platform or your point-of-sale platform. So with dispensaries, it is coming from their point-of-sale platform. So we pull data via an API, run it through our AI engine, our software, and then it spits out the recommendations from there.
So for the most part, is it just the recommendations end, or do you have a nice little data set on the back end where now dispensary owners can then make actionable decisions based on, I guess, the recommendations that your AI has?
Yeah, we got a data set, and then now you can execute on those recommendations. So what we can do is we pull the data, and we in essence can do 4 things. So we can take a look at the potential profitability of a dispensary's customers. We can predict on a macro level if the dispensary has the data based on what someone's likely to buy on a macro level and based on geographic, demographic, psychographic, or behavior characteristics. Number 3, we can predict on a micro level what each person's likely to buy. So you and I could be a customer of a particular dispensary, and based on our past behavior patterns, buying patterns, compared to other people like us, you and I could be predicted to buy different things. It's just similar to what you're seeing with Amazon in their product recommendations and Netflix with their movie recommendations. Or Now we can also do inventory level prediction. So we can predict how much of these CBD hemp drops here will sell, how much of it will sell in a given day, week, or month. So now we take all that information. It's in a pretty little dashboard, but we go beyond pretty dashboards. Now we can enable you to execute truly data-driven omni-channel campaigns. So that could be email, text, or social media. So you and I, we're getting a relevant text based on products that we're likely to buy instead of mass blasting a product that you or I may not have interest in.
Okay, now, so I have a few things to unpack, and I just want to make it as simple for whoever's going to end up listening to this. So in terms of kind of the benefits, I guess, of what you guys do, you have the profitability aspect, the analysis of the demographics, past behavior patterns, and then the inventory level prediction. Is that kind of the overarching 30,000 foot kind of view of what you guys do? And then on that, we can then use that for email, text, social media, or kind of whatever that is, right?
Correct.
So in terms of the data set, right? Like how much data do these dispensary owners need to really use? Because just like any analysis, the larger the sample size is, the kind of better and more accurate, decisions can be made moving forward. Typically, I don't know if it's how long do they need to be using your software for, or how many transactions? Like what does that look like for the dispensary owner?
Yeah, that's a very good question, Brandon. So obviously, the more established dispensaries that have larger amount of data sets, they'll do better, with the predictions. Ideally, just bare bones when you're first coming in or you're a brand new dispensary. Ideally, minimal, maybe 1,000, purchase orders.
Sure.
Maybe about 100 plus customers just to start. Yeah. But mind you, just because you're that young dispensary and versus someone that's more established at 5+ years old, that older dispensary is going to have more efficacy with the predictions, right? So we always say between 30 and 70% accuracy rate. Maybe for the younger dispensary, it's going to be 30%, but for the more established one, it'll be closer to 70. But the good thing with AI, it gets smarter over time. Yeah. So if that younger dispensary, you could argue that, hey, it only has 30% efficacy rate today, but over time, as they get more and more customers and go through emotions, that efficacy rate will continue to improve and grow.
That's the beauty of AI.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right.
A lot of the owners, the dispensary owners that I speak with, or even that I'm working with, they own multiple locations, right? And one of the prediction factors in terms of the data leverage that you can use is demographics, right? So typically when people, let's just say I have 5 different dispensaries distributed in different cities, right? Obviously, well, maybe not obvious. The demographics may or may not be different, right? So, I'm a dispensary owner. I have, let's say, one shop that I've opened up for 3 years. It's super, super successful. And then in succession, I'm going to open up 2, 3, 4, 5, right? Do you recommend to use your pre-existing data for location 1 for the rest of the locations, or should I generate a new sample size or a new data set for the updated information I may get from these different cities?
So both, right? So initially, if you have a successful dispensary number 1, that's doing well. You got a robust data set, but you're opening up dispensary 2, 3, 4, and 5. Sure. You can do both in parallel. So now you can take the data set from 1, apply it to the newer dispensaries number 2, 3, 4, and 5. But as those dispensaries get new customers, right? So you're taking that data, existing buyer data, and kind of combining it with the from dispensary number 1. And over time, those 2 data sets are going to merge. And then now, as those dispensaries grow, dispensary 2, 3, and 4, and 5, now we're going to have their own identity. Okay,
nice. And one of the things that, kind of piqued my interest is that whole email, text, social media stuff, right? Yeah. So from my knowledge, a lot of the softwares and companies that kind of do that stuff is more so, hey, let's just regularly put out a blast every 2 weeks for these latest drops or whatever it is, right? There's not necessarily any targeted thing on a per customer basis. So as what you're saying, we can then curate specific messages for the people that want, well, they don't know that they want, but based on your data, they know what we know what we can target for them.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Because marketing dollars, especially in today's day and age with labor shortages and inflation, marketing dollars are too precious to waste.
Yeah.
Right. And to your point, you want to be highly, curated, because if you're highly curated, that's going to improve the customer experience and help drive growth for that dispensary. So to your point, instead of sending a mass blast, so I think, we're definitely in, different age groups, right? I'm north of 50, and when I use cannabis, it'll be to help me sleep, help me get a good night's sleep, 7 to 8 hours. That's what I use it for, right?
Yeah.
Maybe someone in their 20s, maybe using cannabis for a different reason, maybe to get high or, get the creative juices flowing.
Yeah.
So if we're both going to the same dispensary, and that dispensary owner or that dispensary marketing manager sends me an email, hey, try this pre-roll to help you get high, I'm going to be turned off, right? Because that customer doesn't know me. In essence, what we're helping the dispensaries owners do is to know their customers better than they know themselves.
Yeah.
And when you can encapsulate that and translate that through marketing campaigns, could be email or text, that customer will be a greater chance of them being a repeat buyer for that specific dispensary.
I think that's a perfect way, because I think a lot of times, in the marketing space, it's a very much shotgun approach, right? It's like, hey, let's just blast out a newsletter to my list of 5,000 people. But I talk to dispensary owners about this all the time, about it's not just about, doing the actions the first thing, but doing it better is the second action, right? And how can you further improve conversions, whether it's via email or whether it's via text? And I think you guys have a really awesome way that you can essentially curate that message for everyone.
You made a good point, right? The shotgun. We've come too far in today's, marketing environment just to rely on the shotgun approach.
Yeah. So one of the main things, and we spoke about this when we first spoke, however many months ago, and I think the biggest obstacle was that to get your software, to get Standard Insights integrated with companies that already have whatever POS or backend loyalty system, or, it was very, very difficult, right? But you told me about your integration with FlowHub, which I thought was really, really awesome. So tell me about kind of how that started and how that works with FlowHub and how you guys integrate with each other.
Yeah, so we partnered up with FlowHub, a few months back. So now our API can connect with theirs. So now if you're a dispensary that's using FlowHub, we can take your data from there and run it through our, AI engine. So that's pretty much how it works, right? Which when we spoke, I think it was nearly a year ago, we didn't have that.
Yes.
And then as we speak, though it hasn't been made public, we just signed some agreements with a couple other point of sale companies.
Nice.
In the cannabis space. And not only point of sale companies, but we're in discussions, knock on wood, with a last mile delivery company. Now they work in a bunch of different verticals. Sure. But cannabis is one of them. So now we're going to help them predict, or their clients predict, what type of products will sell in a given geolocation. So yes, we're doing stuff with FlowHub and soon to be with other point of sale systems, but we're also incorporating with other tech platforms. And one of them coming down the road will be a last mile delivery company.
That's super, super exciting stuff. When can we expect the delivery, partnership for you guys coming up in the future?
Yeah, hopefully soon. I'll text you or drop you an email once we get the go ahead.
Yeah. So we'll have a separate episode, and you can talk about all the stuff that goes around that. How has the uptick in when you integrated with FlowHub? How has that kind of changed? Has that changed what you guys are doing, or is it just as simple as you do something, FlowHub's like, hey, I love what you're doing, and let's move forward? Or did you do anything different to integrate with them?
No, it just, hey, they were looking at other analytics partners to build up their analytic tech stack. And I think with us, there's 6. There were, 5. We had 5 others, and then we came on 6 relatively relatively recently.
Mhm.
And yes, there are other analytics platforms out there. I'm not going to hide that from you.
Yeah.
But where we differ is we can make the predictive recommendations,
Okay.
and even if the others can make the predictive recommendations, we can help you not only run or you can execute data-driven campaigns from our platform,
Mhm.
but we also have a managed service component that'll help you create and run those campaigns.
Mhm.
Namely because I'm assuming just like in the States and in Canada as well, most dispensaries are short-staffed.
Yeah.
And suffering from a labor shortage.
Yeah. Yeah.
So now we can, in one complete package, not only can we provide you with the data to help you make smart decisions, we can actually create and execute these campaigns for you. So you,
Mhm.
as a dispensary owner who's short-staffed, you're busy doing other things, and we can help you with that component.
Okay, so I think that's super valuable. What you touched on is the standard dispensary owner, whether they own a lot of stores and they're short staffed across the board, or it's a mom and pop and the one person kind of wants to get out. Walk me through how exactly you guys can help out in this specific manner for this labor shortage.
So yeah, basically we would do all the work, all the heavy lifting for them. Once they sign the agreement and we get the API, their data access, we take care of everything behind the scenes. So you, Brandon, if you're a dispensary owner, you're not sitting behind your computer at 9 o'clock in the morning as the dispensary opens and
Yes.
trying to figure out a piece of software.
Sure.
And then running campaigns,
Yes.
With it. So we take that for you. So you can think of us as your data arm, as your smart marketing arm. And maybe now we meet with you, once a week, maybe on Monday or Tuesday mornings for, half hour, 45 minutes. Hey, Brandon, this is what we came up with. What do you think? You give us the go ahead and then we'll execute those campaigns for you.
And the campaigns are the SMS email campaigns,
Yes,
or is
the
it
SMS, the marketing, the marketing emails,
Mhm.
but they're smart campaigns, they're smart emails. So now it's going beyond just, a mass blast, if you will. So you and I, if we're on a dispensary email list,
Yes.
or text list, we could get recommended different products.
Yes. So one of the main concerns, or not even a concern, it was a problem with at least some of the owners that I spoke to, was that the loyalty aspect of getting people to download an app or kind of go into this points wallet to it's a very cumbersome process, right?
Yeah.
To line up me as a customer, let's say if customer one, with customer one's purchases down the line, right, without having to continually ask someone, or again download an app or have a specific wallet or something like that. So how do you sync up with the customer data that's making the purchases? You would then integrate with the existing POS of whatever customer, get that data, and then be able to push it towards whoever you need to, and you don't need any additional access. You don't need the customer to do anything more, right?
Nope, just as long as we get the data firsthand,
Mhm.
and we get the API keys, and that's that, then the customer, it's not app-based. We know people have too many apps on their phone, and it's just a pain to download.
Yeah.
So it just matter getting data the first time.
Sure.
And that's that. And then you get a login. Our software system is it's a SaaS platform, right? So you just pay a monthly fee, to that.
Yeah. This sounds like some pretty cool stuff that you guys have going on. I mean, it sounds awesome. The evolution of I think a lot of businesses, whether it's SaaS, whether it's a brick and mortar, whether it's kind of an agency style, I'm just super interested in kind of like how these businesses grow and stuff like that, which is really, really interesting. So I guess on that topic, what's coming down the pipeline for you guys, like in the future? Do you have any kind of big projects, big milestones that you're looking towards?
Yeah, so we have our main AI platform, right? Smart Choice AI that makes those recommendations. Coming down the pike, we're going to launch our own email platform called Quick Reach.
Okay.
Right, and then, though this is not our main product, it can be used as a ordering app. Not an ordering app, it's an ordering site, if you will. So now, and yes, there are other tons of ordering platforms in the cannabis space. But what makes us different is using the AI, AI recommendations. So once you log in, after we've established some sort of behavior pattern from either Brandon or Jerry, now when you log in, it's going to make recommendations on what you're likely to buy.
Interesting.
And then, a couple other things. Some cannabis companies we talk to, it's not really our forte, but they may need help with, say, software development. We can help them with that.
Sure. In what aspect? How for what exactly?
Yeah, just for anything that they may need. So if they wanted to maybe a specific app develop or some software that they now we've opened up a dev arm.
Oh, okay. So you're just kind of using your existing resources for.
Yep, exactly. So you got a dispensary or something, they need help with some dev work, we can help out with that. Right? Maybe they want to create an ordering platform specific to them. In fact, that's what we're doing for a delivery company, cannabis delivery company right now. We're in the process. We're helping them create an AI-driven ordering platform.
Oh, that's pretty awesome. I'm looking forward. Hey, look, I think we'll have a lot of content for another podcast episode.
Yeah. But nowadays, you mentioned this, and people are, hey, buy our software, use my consulting services to help you drive sales. But, we're no different, but it's really not about driving sales, but for a particular dispensary. But, what could you lose? Because AI is becoming ubiquitous.
Yep.
Nowadays, it's becoming democratized, and it happens behind the scenes. It's almost insidious, if you will, that you don't know what's happening.
Yeah.
But when you're getting an email or text, Brandon Jerry gets a text, but it's really a text on what we like. Oh, hey, it's just a text message, right?
Yeah.
No big deal, but it's a product that we like.
Yeah.
Maybe it's like the CBD to help me go to sleep. That rings a bell, right? Now it's like, okay, they get me, they know who I am, and you're likely to, buy again from that dispensary. So it's really getting into, we discussed this earlier, helping that dispensary owner know their customers better than they know themselves. So it starts with improving the user experience, preventing customer indecision, and telling them what to do next. So if you can get this and master it, and it takes time, just because you buy the software today doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow, then you can expect to see improved sales, increase average order value, and reducing customer churn.
Yeah, it's the overall boost of the business. It's not, sure, getting sales is really, really good, but you need to know what products you need to buy in the future, right? There's a whole bunch of different strains and LPs and genetics and all these different, how do I know which one my customers want, right? But with your data, it really helps.
Knowing what products to buy.
Yes.
In the future, if you're a dispensary, right? Okay, that doesn't necessarily translate to increased sales, but if you can better handle your inventory, that's driving your inventory costs down. So sales are important. It's driving, top line growth. But what about bottom line growth? Knowing what products to buy or what's predicted to sell for your dispensary. So if it's a particular cherry edible, it's not selling and it's just taking up shelf space. It's costing me money carrying that product when it's not selling.
And
so
no, I was just going to say that it exponentially grows too, because we're talking about how a lot of owners, their goal is to open up more stores with either the aim to just become city famous, as I would call it, right? They have their 5 dispensaries or whatever it is, or they grow enough to be acquired by one of the bigger guys that just want to eat up everyone else, right? But as you get more data to do different things, that data then becomes valuable towards whatever the owner's end goal is. If they want to open up more stores, they know what they need to do, right? If they want to sell, they now have this data that's super valuable for people that's going to come in and buy, right? And I think that's also another benefit.
Yeah, you made it 2 very, very important points. So number one, if you're a dispensary and you just want to be a dispensary that, grows with more dispensaries, that can help you grow. 2, on the other hand, if you're a small, mom and pop dispensary that wants to get acquired, because we know that's happening now in the cannabis space, you're going to look better for acquisition if you have your data in alignment. So whether you want to grow more dispensaries or get ready to get bought out, being data driven and getting your data house in order will help you in both aspects.
Yeah, 100%. So we're messing with a lot of data. With all this whole Facebook privacy, Apple iOS 14 privacy stuff going on, you guys, I'm assuming, don't own the data. It's all the customers, or do you plan on leveraging this data for something in the future? Like, what does the data itself, what is it used for on your end?
So the customer owns the data. I mean, obviously we're running it and we're analyzing it, but I guess I know what you're asking. No, we're not selling your data. But no, the customer owns the data, and that's the beauty of it. Because if you take a look at these other platforms, whether it's Facebook, Amazon, Uber Eats, or some of these other ordering platforms for cannabis, they own the data. Here, you as a dispensary owner or the cannabis delivery company, whatever it may be, you own your data. However, and you have access to it any point in time. However, joking, not joking, if you don't pay your SaaS bill, and you're not going to see that data. But if you keep on paying us, I mean, that's your data, and whatever you want, to do with it. But it's important, right? That customer, that dispensary gets to keep and owns their data.
I mean, I think that's what a lot of people want to hear. So it's really, really good that you guys do that. So now we can, kind of segue into some of the articles you wrote. So I think one of the two, the first one was about, mitigating wage inflation with AI. And I know you touched on that with, kind of how we can help out the dispensary owners, essentially multiply their time, right? Be a bit more productive, with what's going on. But if you want to touch on, I guess kind of that article that you did, did you have any additional points on, on that main topic?
Last 2 years, whether it's in the US, Canada, and around the world, there's a labor shortage, right? Whether it's in restaurants or even in the software development world or in cannabis, there's a labor shortage. So as I talked about in the article, say you're a dispensary owner and you've got a 10-person dispensary, staffed with 10 people. 3 leaves, so now you're down to 7. And you're hiring, everyone's getting paid $15 an hour. But the people that, want to come on board, the 3, they want to get paid $20 an hour, right? So you hire 3 people on board, they're all getting paid $20 an hour, but what about the other 7? They're going to be mad because they're only getting paid $15 an hour. Now, in order for them to stay, you got to amp up the 15 to 20. That's a 33% increase in wages, which last I checked, dispensary owners, can't afford that. Average profit margin for a dispensary is 15%. With dispensaries, they're not raising their prices like other verticals. And so how are you going to, you can't pull money and profit out of thin air. So what's left? It's implementing technologies, particularly with AI. So if you have an ordering platform or a kiosk that's AI driven, now it's recommending products based on, it's as if you had a bud tender there next to you helping you pick out products. Right now with AI, it can learn from past behavior. So maybe instead of hiring 10 people, maybe you only need 5, and of those 5 people that are left, you can pay them the $20 an hour. Instead of having 10 people on staff getting paid $20 an hour, you may only need 5 getting paid $20 an hour, with the technologies, and you may save like 30% in labor costs. So that's how, we feel that with having an AI-driven technology can help, mitigate wage inflation.
I think you bring up a good point about, being able to, I guess, pay the standard wage for a lot of these bud tenders, and then also having a software that allows them to do a better job. Because me doing my marketing research and stuff like that, if you look at Google reviews, and I don't think this is just in the cannabis space, like I think in restaurants and any service-based business, if you look at the reviews, the majority of the reviews are like, John really helped me out with these recommendations. I went home, whatever, smoked it and had it, it was great. Right. Or, kind of Amy remembered it was my birthday and gave me this really cool thing. It's just customer service facing things.
Right.
But by having a good software that allows you to, give better recommendations, right? But then also paying bud tenders to also be better, right? I think overall it would be a boost to the business, not even including that, reducing or eliminating that 30% increase on total wages for everyone. And then also not being better customer service people either.
Even if John is being paid $20 an hour, even if John is the best customer, has good customer service skills, can John really theoretically remember products to recommend Brandon when there are over 500 to 600 products, maybe in that dispensary, maybe that dispensary has 8,000 to 10,000 customers and maybe 50,000 purchase orders. You could pay John $100 an hour. I don't know if he'll remember.
Yeah.
That's where the AI driven recommendation can come in.
It's a tool that helps them out too, right? And I think that's super important. And then I guess the second article was about leveraging AI itself, right? How can dispensary owners leverage AI, the data itself, so that they can do a better job, whether it's get more sales and any of these things. So touch on a little bit of what you wrote about in that article as well.
It's basically asking the right question. I wrote in the article, so this was after MJ Biz. I visited 2 dispensaries in Las Vegas, and these dispensaries were just probably a couple of miles, apart. And they didn't ask questions. Yes, they have my name and phone number, but when I went to the counter to check out, they didn't really do anything. They didn't try to upsell me. I mean, they were polite, but they didn't do any more fact finding. And I was giving them the opportunity to do more fact finding, because who knows? Yeah, I don't live in Las Vegas, but I visit there maybe 2-3 times a year. Right. And they didn't do any fact finding. So those 2 dispensaries potentially could have lost out on a potential on repeat business. So it's about doing the right thing. And even though 2 dispensaries are just a few miles apart, that dispensary who's going to do the right thing will win that repeat business than the other one who doesn't.
And that's another big thing. We're just kind of circling around to all the things that I tell my clients, and like the how loyalty, and not necessarily loyalty, but getting those customers coming back as repeat customers is super important, because it's not just that like one-time sale of, I don't know, they buy $50 to $60 worth of products, right? But it's how do we get that customer coming back over and over again? And, one of the case studies that I read up on is about Starbucks. And I say this all the time now, but it's like Starbucks lifetime value of their customers, $14,000, right? Like one customer spends $14,000, and that's a lot of coffee, right? It's a lot of coffee for, I don't know, between $2 and $20 cup of coffee, right? So I think what you guys are doing to help extend the lifetime value for customers is also a very, very important thing as well.
So business typically want 2 things: new business and repeat business. So to your point with a Starbucks analogy, our software focuses on the latter. I mean, if you go to our website, is helping buyers drive repeat business using AI. So with that being said, I could shout from the rooftops all day long about driving repeat business. Maybe it falls on deaf ears, maybe it doesn't. But if you look, if you Google a study put out by Bain that just a 5% improvement in repeat business can help drive profitability between 25 to 95%. So, don't believe me. Maybe people don't believe you. That doesn't matter. But there are studies out there that show the validity of driving repeat business can help you drive growth.
Are you seeing any other, aside from yourself? I did the podcast with the conversational AI live chatbot, that you took a look at. Are there any other players in this space, competitors or not, that you're like, hey, what they're doing is really, really cool, that you want to keep an eye on? How is this industry kind of evolving?
So yeah, that's a good question. So even if you look at FlowHub and we're part of their analytics tech stack, or if you look at we're part of the Cannatech ecosystem. A lot of those folks mentioned before us were the, I guess, early adopters or the first wave of analytics platforms in cannabis. And mind you, cannabis is a relatively new industry. AI is a relatively new industry.
Yeah.
So it's with relatively new software and equipment. It's not like restaurants that have been around for hundreds of years and they're using NCR. NCR is a company that's been around for a long, long time. So all these companies that you see in the Cannatech ecosystem space are relatively new, maybe going back 5-6 years, at the oldest, at the oldest, right? So we're coming in, if you want to argue, the second wave. So we've been studying those other guys. We've come from past and other verticals and are implementing our business knowledge into the cannabis space.
Would you say it's a good idea to get into this space? As I guess I wouldn't say you guys are exactly a startup, but in terms of cannabis specific, maybe right? Everything's relatively recent, right? Based on what you're seeing, are you seeing a lot of competition that's also doing it well? Or are you just seeing people that, hey, we can do it just because we can do it kind of thing?
I don't know, probably a little bit of both. Don't really spend a lot of my day analyzing, competitors. Otherwise, will not be able to get my job done. But just on a high level, I do take a look at what others are doing. Just a few seconds, maybe scanning their website.
Yes.
But for us, not only do we bring in the technology piece, but we bring in the execution piece. And then not only that, we bring in the managed services to help that person create and execute and run those campaigns, for them. Because as we discussed earlier, these owners are busy and Brandon doesn't have time to be spending, hours on end trying to figure out a piece of software and launch campaigns when he could be doing 100 other tasks as a dispensary manager, dispensary owner.
Yeah, I got to keep the blindfolds on. If you're spending most of your day just kind of looking at what everyone else is doing, then they're eventually going to catch up to you, or I'm complete agreement on that. So now that I know that you're spending most of your time working on the stuff that you're working on, what are some of the biggest challenges that you faced kind of growing Standard Insights?
Yeah, so weirdly, last 2 years, everyone's coming out of this pandemic, but it's scaling and then hiring people, right? Because it all, 2.5 years ago, if I told you, hey, I have an AI company or co-founding an AI company, they probably would have told me to pound sand and said, you will take my job away.
Yeah.
But now 2.5 years later, the world, not only the US and Canada, they're experiencing a massive labor shortage and massive inflation. And how are you going to, counteract that? Well, you're going to have technology help you out.
Yeah.
So since then, it's been a slow trajectory, but now our company is growing like that.
What's the game plan? What's the game plan to help you scale up better, to help you hire more?
We're hiring both on the sales side, marketing side, and then on the tech side in India. But yeah, continuing to not only generate direct sales, but form partnerships like with guys like you, with folks like FlowHub, other point of sale companies, delivery companies, anyone that could help their customers drive growth through technology or AI-driven technology.
And I know I'm just super curious about this. I know that you guys work in different verticals and stuff like that, in different industries. Is your product offering generally the same across the board, or if they are different, do you plan on taking some learnings from industry A and taking it to the cannabis space, or cannabis space to this is kind of off topic, but I'm just curious for myself.
Yeah, so there's a little bit of cross-pollination, if you will, but it's 80%, 85% the same across the board.
Sure.
The principles, the basic fundamental principles that'll help you drive growth in cannabis, in restaurants, in e-commerce retail are fundamentally the same. There's a little bit of adjustment, the last 10 or 15%, but there's a little bit of cross-pollination, amongst the different verticals, amongst different industries. Yeah. But generally, what helps you be successful in one industry is the same thing that's going to make you successful in the cannabis industry.
Right. Yeah. There are a lot of analogies. I use a restaurant example all the time, right? It's like, how do people find restaurants? Go to Google, look at the reviews, go into the restaurant. And then ideally, they would then use your software on that retargeting end and, to kind of do that.
Yeah. Like for restaurants, right? They find you in Google, they may find you in Uber Eats, right? But while, Uber Eats or your restaurant was you got found by Uber Eats. Now, once you walk into that restaurant, it's your job as that restaurant owner to get more Brandon's information, to get more of Jerry's information. So now they're ordering from you as a repeat guest, repeat buyer than they are from Uber Eats or someplace else. And by doing so, you're going to keep more of your profit because those guys and other ordering platforms, take a big chunk of one's profits.
Now, what would you say would be kind of like the 80-20 of the data that you provide to these dispensary owners? Because, as you mentioned, there's a lot of ways we can, kind of skin a cat, right? You can, make more sales, you can get more recurring customers coming in, you can reduce the payroll. Like, what is the most common use case scenario for a lot of these dispensary owners? If you have that information, like, what is the most, what I'm trying to get at is that, like, you guys offer a lot of things, right? And in terms of the data that's being given, there's also a lot of data. But what aspect of the data that you provide do you find being the most valuable for the dispensary owners?
I would probably have to say everything that we offer, probably the personalized recommendations.
Okay.
Right. And I think that seems to be the most favorite one of all, because you can log on to our platform and click on Brandon and Jerry's names. Yeah. And based on their buying patterns, both those guys can be predicted to buy different things. And that's probably the best one. And not only that, being able, it's nice to see that Jerry's predicted to buy, a pre-roll, and Brandon's predicted, buy a flower product, that's fine and dandy, but being able to take that data, that information, and do something with it, whether it's sending an email or text to Brandon or Jerry. So
Do you plan on that personalization and customization stuff? I know in industries where you can advertise, like paid advertising for the most part, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, and stuff like that. Do you have a social media retargeting component that you can possibly do? Is that part of the game plan at all, or is it strictly email and text?
So yes, we do. In fact, it's on our website, Doppelganger Marketing, but we haven't used that as quite a bit as of late. Sure. We can, but for other industries, obviously we can retarget for based on what Brandon and Jerry have bought in the past. Obviously, you can't do it for cannabis. So for cannabis, it's just the email and text. Yeah.
But the capabilities are there whenever in the future.
For other verticals.
It is allowed. Okay, that's awesome. And I guess kind of ending off, our this awesome episode. Do you have any golden nuggets for dispensary owners that are looking to take whatever it is to the next level, and whatever you think the next level is? What are you seeing in the space right now that you'd be like, hey guys, you got to get this done. You're really missing out.
Yeah, I would say it's just to get out of their comfort zone. Right, they're so busy in their day-to-day aspect that they forget to, peek up and take a look at what's out there, take a breath, and see what's out there. Yeah. Because if they don't do that, I can almost guarantee that their competitors are, and who knows, that dispensary owner who fails to do that, will be lost. And no one's too big to fail. But look at Blockbuster; they're not in existence.
Yes.
Borders Books, they're no longer in existence.
Yes.
Sears, they're on a downward slide, right?
Mm-hmm.
But one company that was in a downward slide, JCPenney's, now they're back on the upswing because they have implemented AI technologies into their ecosystem.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, for dispensary owners, I know you're busy and it's kind of hard to look at other things, but carve out some time, during your day, just seeing what other tech platforms, anything that can help drive growth, and don't be afraid to try that.
Sure. Experiment a bunch of different things, most of the time, it may or may not work, right? But when you find that thing, it's going to compound over and over and over again.
Yeah,
because
exactly.
It is now it's now an asset essentially that you own, right? And whether it's your platform or whatever other platform that would help the business, I really do think that working on the business, right? At least taking time, like you said, to figure out how we can grow the business itself versus working in the business, doing the nitty gritty would really, really help. And I think that applies for all businesses, for, your business, for my business, just any business that's looking to grow overall.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right.
Yeah. So last question is, where can people find you if they're interested in all of the wonderful things you had to say today?
Yeah, thanks, Brandon. So they can find me on LinkedIn, Jerry Abiog, Abiog. I think I'm the only one there. They can shoot me an email at Jerry, Jerry, at standardinsights.io, or, they can shoot me a text, 404-272-4431. We can take them through, a demo. If they see value in it, we can, take it from there.
Awesome. Well, look, Jerry, is really, really awesome having you on the podcast. I think it's really, really insightful. We're getting a lot of AI guests on, and I think it's something, again, to kind of take dispensaries to that next level. So just want to say, everyone listening, I hope you enjoyed the podcast, and I'll see you on the next one. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Brandon.